What's going on, everyone? It's Sean, the Yank that you guys love to love or not love. You guys know how it is. Worldwide Bread Show. If you're new around here, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. Give me a thumbs up. Get into the comments. Welcome to our first ever live stream. Listen, guys, I'm grateful to have you all here. If I'm a little bit blurry on the screen, it's because I bottled it with my new camera. I bottled it like a straight Slippy G, watching the championship slide so beautifully through his fingers the way that it did many years ago. I am fortunate enough tonight to be joined by three of the best to ever do it, right? Bar none. Listen, I always tell people in life, be a participator, not a hater. These guys on the stream tonight have all actually welcomed me into their streams, their streaming community and family, and I return the favor. So I'm grateful to have each and every one of them. Listen, we're going to start off to my right. Mr. Kieran from Red Devil Weekly. Say hello to the people.
Hey guys, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me on. And looking forward to it. Looking forward to talking about United. Always good.
Yeah, man. Tell them where they find you at, bro.
Yeah, Red Devil Weekly on YouTube and also on Twitter, just at Red Devil Weekly as it's spelt there. Just do, Man United content as you'd expect. I'm sure a lot more to come from Sean's channel as well, so make sure you hit that like button, all that good stuff.
Yes, sir. And below me right now, it is your boy. You know who he is. It is that guy at Usman Talks United. Thank you so much for being with us, bro. Give a shout out to the folks.
Yeah, no, first and foremost, as obviously Kieran just said, make sure you drop a like and subscribe to the homie, the Yankee love to love. Sean, listen, thank you for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm just happy that you're hosting because we'll actually get a chance to speak for a change. So, that's always going to be fun. But yeah, no, happy days, man. We won 9-0 last game, so all in good spirits.
Yeah. And last but not least, one of the first gentlemen to take a flyer on a crazy American and invite me onto his streams. That guy, Rich from Rich Talk Sports. Say hello to everyone, Rich.
No, cheers. And Sean, thanks so much for getting me on. I know I've had you on so many times, and I don't try and wind you up with the comments. It just happens that way. But I'm looking forward to actually being allowed to talk. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm excited, guys. I'm excited. Let's get into it. I wanted to ask each of you. We'll start with Kieran. Each of you, I'd like to just hear a little bit of your thoughts on our season so far. Like, what are you guys? How are you feeling about what's been going on at that wonderful football club we all love so much?
Well, from my point of view, I didn't expect to be in this position at the start of the season. I think even after the first 3 games of the season, if you said we'd be, second, even 3 points off Man City with them having a game in hand, I would have snapped your arm off. After that 6-1 defeat, I think a lot of people were questioning Solskjaer whether he's the right guy. And credit to him, he's proven so far that he's showing the progress that we all want to see, and he's implementing what we want to see as United fans. And obviously, results don't lie. We were top of the tail for at least 2 Premier League game weeks. And obviously the end goal, we have to kind of put into context. When you look at the start of the season, I think everyone was saying that we want to finish in the top 4 and close that gap between Manchester City and Liverpool. I wouldn't say if we, didn't win the title this season, I wouldn't say that's a failure. I would say, you have to look at what we did at the start of the season, or what we said we wanted to do at the start of the season, and go off that. And I think if we do go off our objectives at the start of the season, it's been a pretty decent season so far. The one thing it's missing is a bit of silverware, but obviously that can come. We're still in the FA Cup, and we're looking good in that, obviously beating Liverpool in the previous round. Obviously for me, I think the season has gone well. Probably better than I expected, to be honest. And also some of the signings as well have performed better than I expected. I didn't expect Edison Cavani to have the impact that he's had. I did think he was a decent player, but I'd never thought he'd be as important to us as he is currently. So I think that's obviously a positive, that something that a lot of United fans thought was going to be a bit dodgy actually turned out to be all right. There's still some improvement to be made. 100% some improvement still needs to be made. But I'm positive. I'm positive about how the season's gone so far. And hopefully, if we can continue on the same sort of form we're in right now, continue doing the right things and trying not to have defensive slip-ups, trying to keep them to a minimum, I think we can definitely complete our objectives that we set at the start of the season and have a good season.
Yeah, would you like to address Brendan's? Brendan's already in the comments here, wanting to give you the business. I want to make sure it wasn't Owen in the comments. It is Brendan. He's asking you a question, Kieran. This is directed to you.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's called Red Devil Weekly because I started out my channel a few years ago and I said it was going to be Red Devil Daily. I called it Red Devils Daily. When I realised I was no chance in hell I was going to be able to upload daily, I changed it to weekly. That's literally it. That is the backstory behind that one. So that's why I changed it, and I've just kept it from there. So you don't need to ask that anymore, Brendan. There you go.
But there is no convenient word for 3 or 4 days a week, unfortunately.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, let's move over to my guy. I want to just give a big shout out to Usman. He's one of those guys that we have not only spoke here on the wonderful world of YouTube, but also in the real world. So many blessings to you, sir. How do you feel that the season is going so far?
Yeah, no, I think Kieran, to be fair to him, like he's done a really good job. If Ollie needs a spokesperson, Kieran's your guy. That's what I'm saying. Like, if Kieran almost came my man and Ollie there for a second. You almost had me. You had me in the first time. I'm not gonna lie. But listen, in terms of the season so far, there's been ups and downs as you'd expect. I think it is important that you have perspective with everything in life, and in particular with football. First and foremost, what were the objectives come start of this season? Yes, Jamie, appreciate my homie. Make sure you subscribe, Jamie, if you haven't already. So obviously, the objectives first and foremost. I'm sure we've all done prediction videos at the start of the season or whatnot. You can look back at them. My anticipation of what I expected was to be in the conversation. Obviously, the gap between Liverpool and ourselves was astronomical, about 30 points, etc. I just wanted to close the gap. Some people would say that's weak mentality, but I was being a realist. I wanted to be within 10 points of Liverpool come end of the season and win a trophy. That was literally what I expected. As Kieran quite rightly said, if someone offered me this situation, I would first and foremost, I said, "What are you smoking?" Second of all, I was obviously literally snatched the hand off. I just think we've got to have a bit of realism. Look, some of the results, the Sheffield United one hasn't been great of late, but if you look at the grand scheme of things, we're doing fairly well. Of course, the Champions League was a disappointment. There are a couple of factors that I'm sure we're going to touch on, Sean, like the style of play, etc. That can be improved. Don't get me wrong, of course they are. I'll be very critical of that. Even like my last podcast, I was talking about the style of football. But in terms of the overall picture, what else did we expect? We're not realistically win the Champions League. Of course, we want to get to the group stage, but we're in all the competition I expected to be in. The FA Cup, obviously the Europa League. Well, I say that, but the Europa League, and obviously we're still in contention for top 4, which realistically we would have been saying, look, we want a top 4 spot and a trophy. So if we get top 4 and FA Cup, although we're in this position that we could go for a title challenge, I'd be fairly happy with that. I'm not going to say, oh, that's a brilliant season, but I would say it's progression because we need trophies first and foremost, for me personally.
I'm learning here, hosting a show and not being on a show. It's very hard for me to sit back and listen and just soak it all in and have no discussions, no rebuttals, I want to let everyone speak and then, let it breathe a little bit. I'm still trying to woo-saw my ears over the fact that I couldn't get my autofocus just right. So I'm just trying to woo it out and let y'all carry this stream. Rich, how do you feel, man? How do you feel about the season? This has got to be, I'm so used to always seeing you sit where I'm sitting. I'm excited to hear this.
Yeah, I'm right in the wrong place. I was going to say, I think I was on a stream with Usman right at the start of the year where I said a very similar thing, close the gap because 30 points, 33 points behind Liverpool is ridiculous. By Christmas, we were like 15, 20 points out of the title race. We weren't even competitive. And we had to win the last game of the season to get top 4. So I was saying, top 4 needs to be locked up a lot earlier. And then we can focus on maybe trying to win a cup, FA Cup, or not Champions League. I don't know about Europa. But for me, we started badly. The season started a bit of a disaster. But since then, to actually be top around Christmas time is an incredible achievement. And I think a lot of the times some fans aren't happy because we win games by small margins, but I mean, Manchester City are just basically going on a run of 5-6 1-0 wins, and no one cares. It's about winning, and I think maybe the improvement I've seen is the winning mentality in terms of we concede early goals. And I'm not worried because maybe 2 years ago we conceded an early goal and you think that's it, it's 1-0, well, we've lost. Whereas now it's against Southampton, West Ham, Everton, good teams, and given them a 2-goal start, I'm confident we can win those games. And finishing games stronger than the opposition is something that I've not seen for a while. And team spirit, all these things are kind of things that maybe you got to give Solskjaer some credit. I know people, there's some things he does that I don't agree with. Usually it's mostly substitutions in terms of too late. That's kind of my biggest annoyance. If something's going wrong, I watch it going wrong for like too long and just think, change it, do something different. But apart from that, the way...
Rich, this can't be true. This can't be true.
I've had 5 this week. 5 birthdays.
Okay, I just need to make sure because my birthday is actually tomorrow. So I was just curious about that. Yeah.
How old are you, Sean? You're turning what, 32 now? Wow.
Right, Jackie Robinson. That's how old I am. Jackie Robinson. The 4 and the 2. That's what we'll go with. 42. Yeah, well, oh man, let's get to Jamie's comment.
I think we're doing better than I was expecting in terms of league position. I'm not saying we're going to win the league, but I'm saying we're in a race. If City go on a bad run, Manchester United are there equal with anybody at the moment. Liverpool are having a season where you think they're turning it around. They lose to Brighton, a bit like our season, where you have a few good results. Suddenly you get the Sheffield United one, which nobody saw coming. And then after that, and the Arsenal game, I didn't see the 9-0 coming either. That was, but there's like a few results like that against like Leipzig, against Leeds. We've seen a few games where we've completely destroyed teams, and it's been good to see.
So, do you guys agree with Jamie here? Do you feel like City's going to win the league, and do you think that we're going to win a cup this year? Usman, let's start with you on that.
Well, first and foremost, regarding City winning the league, look, I think. I probably said it myself. It looks like City the favourites, but in saying that, a couple of months ago, you'd probably say Liverpool the favourites. Like, a lot changes in such a short period of time. As Richard just rightly said, look, we wasn't expected to lose to Sheffield United, and get that draw against Arsenal. So that we've lost 5 points there. City have got a very difficult run now. They've got Liverpool on the weekends. They've got, I believe, Arsenal, Chelsea, something along those lines.
I think they've got Spurs coming up soon. They've got a few difficult games in the next 5 or 6.
Yeah, so the next 5 games are games that, if they come out of that with, say, 10 points, hypothetically speaking, then they've probably won the title because I don't think we'd match that. So I think the next 5 games, obviously, will determine the season for me. I think that's quite... it's going to be quite influential because I don't think we're going to, play against a similar opposition to what they're going to play in the next 5 games and get maximum points, so to speak. So, I think.
Would any of you dare say, or have the guts to admit it publicly, for all of the YouTube world to see, that you would not mind seeing the Scousers win on Sunday, or is that just we can't go there?
I want Liverpool to win on Sunday. I'll tell you that right now. I want Liverpool to win on Sunday 110% because the way I see it, they're a shit club and they're not a threat to us. So
come on, man, they're done out here. Where's Mike? Someone call Mike.
Do us a favor, Liverpool, you shit club. 1 season wonders, and we'll take the title off our next one.
Done out here, overrated.
Liverpool to win on Sunday would be beautiful. I'm not going to deny it because I honestly think they'll drop points again. Because at the moment, I'm not sitting here saying that Man United are going to go on this unbelievable run because we're susceptible to dropping points against anybody else. The Sheffield United game has illustrated. But look, at the end of the day, we need a bit of luck. We need Liverpool to do us a favour, obviously, and then hopefully we can get a result against Everton. Regarding the second part, can't we win a trophy? I don't see why we can't win the Europa League. It's not really being mentioned yet at the moment. I don't know what people's thoughts on winning the Europa League, but for me personally, look, don't get me wrong, obviously we've beaten Liverpool in the FA Cup. I'd take either, but in terms of a trophy, I think our odds are probably better than the Europa League, to be honest, because the calibre opposition might be considerably less. Obviously, there's some good teams in there, don't get me wrong, but there's probably better teams in the FA Cup remaining.
Yeah. How do you guys feel, Kieran, how do you feel about, it's looking like our next 3 league fixtures will be we have Everton, West Ham, and West Brom. Where
We got Everton, Newcastle, West Brom.
Okay, West Ham is what? That's in the FA Cup, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, that's where I messed up. It's an FA Cup game. Okay, but our next 3 fixtures seem to be very winnable games, whereas City, they seem to have a pretty tough run. So, do you feel that we have an opportunity now over the next 3 or 4 matches in the league to make up ground?
Well, I mean, I think, with Manchester City, it's always very difficult to see an opportunity, the way they're playing. But especially, Man City, as has been rightly pointed out, they've got a tough February. They've got tough figures coming up. And really, if we are, serious about a title charge, we have to go on a run. We have to, win these winnable games. And I think that was why the Sheffield United game did kind of, I think, rock the confidence a little bit and brought people back down to earth, because those are the sort of games that you need to be winning if you're realistic about a title challenge. But having said that, as Usman rightly pointed out, the season's so up and down, it's so unpredictable, and you never know what could happen. Everything's so tight. You lose 2 games in a row, and all of a sudden you're outside the top 4. And you can win 2 games in a row, and all of a sudden you're back in. So it's so tight. So I would never say never in terms of, even if we didn't take an opportunity, you still get probably other opportunities, just how the season's going. But because Man City looks so dominant right now, and I don't really see that letting up unless they do get injuries, I feel like you have to take the opportunities that come, really. And I feel like...
got injuries, Kieran. You've got to remember, there's no De Bruyne or Aguero, so how many injuries do you want them to have?
Well, yeah, I guess it's almost one of those... That's true. It's almost one of those things where, because their squad is so stacked, I almost forgot how they did have injuries. Like De Bruyne, obviously, is out. You're right. Aguero obviously has been out. He's been out for ages. To be fair, Aguero. Yeah. But yeah, I think with City, it's one of those things where I think their squad depth is too good. But I feel like if we've seen them falter this season. Obviously, they faltered against West Brom. They're not infallible, but I just feel like they're going to have too much for us. But I'm sure there'll be some opportunities. I don't think they're going to win the rest of the games to the end of the season. So I'm sure there will be some opportunities in there. Whether we have the stamina and stability and the kind of have the ability to win successive games and go on a really long run of wins. Realistically, that's what we're going to have to do if we're actually going to challenge City, because they look, so far away right now. But who knows? I guess you have to remain positive until, it happens, I guess.
Well, Rich, what do you think about this comment here? Because this is a comment that if you told me at the beginning of the season, I would be reading out. I would be...
It's ridiculous, isn't it? They conceded 13 goals all season. It's something crazy like that.
They've gotten so much better. Is it simply down to Ruben Diaz? I mean, is it that simple that they brought in the right center back and he's just
the best defender they've had since Company left? Since Company left, they've spent a ridiculous amount of money on trying to replace him with different defenders. It hasn't worked until now. And like I said, they're not scoring many goals compared with how they normally are. But one's enough, isn't it? If you don't concede any goals, then the base. But to talk about the Liverpool City game, I think Brendan said a draw. I think the main thing is if City don't win, because if we beat Everton and get slightly closer, they have got some tough games. So if they drew a couple of games and we could go on a run, at least it does put doubt. And if they're not scoring a lot of goals, it can create a bit of pressure. They do have to keep that clean sheet. So I think at this stage, it's just basically staying there, isn't it? Because we can only win our games. Can't really see City slipping up at the moment, but you never know, because I didn't see Liverpool not taking maximum points over Christmas when they had, was it West Brom? I think they had Newcastle. They had a few quite easy games. I think it's like Newcastle, West Brom, and I expected 9 points, and they drew against 2 teams in the bottom 4 or 5, and they lost to Southampton. So you just don't know what to expect. So the main thing is we beat Everton, because they can be a tricky team if you don't play well. But I think there's quite a good chance that City's record at Anfield is not very good. I don't think they've won there for a while. I don't think City are going to win that game. I think a draw.
He's definitely playing for a draw. You know what Guardiola's like.
I think it would be a boring game. It would be like a 0-0, and Guardiola would be perfectly happy with that probably. It gives
I wanted to ask you guys a question. It's been haunting me over this past week, because I still cannot get over the fact that we lost to Sheffield United. And because of the craziness I got going on in my actual life, and, shout out to my uncle. I lost my uncle to COVID. My aunt, my mom actually has it right now. It's just been crazy right now dealing with all this, and I know it's going all around the world that you guys are dealing with this craziness as well. The blessing I have being where I am is I'm not nearly as shut in as some of you. I know Brendan was sharing some things about stuff that where he's at. I know you guys in the UK especially have a lot of different lockdowns and shutdowns and can't go out. And it's just a crazy time to be alive right now. So when your team is losing to Sheffield United, you don't feel real good about yourself. So my question would be this, and I want to throw this to Usman. Do you feel like that loss to Sheffield is as much of an anomaly as the 9-0 victory was?
Absolutely. I think that 9-0 victory is equivalent to Liverpool's 7-0 v Crystal Palace. Prior to Liverpool's 7-0 against Crystal Palace, they were on absolutely horrendous goal scoring form. They were barely scoring a goal. And then actually, after the 7-0, they went on that run that you alluded to earlier, Rich, against those poor teams. So I think for me personally, it's important that we just remember it's only 3 points. That as fans, obviously, we're going to be happy. We're going to hope that it breeds confidence. Players like Martial in particular has been absolutely woeful most of the season. Finally scored. Rashford scores first time in a while. Bruno scored. Everyone that you needed to score. And as a fan, you can only hope that they're focused on the next game. Like as Richard said, it's a very difficult game against Everton. But in terms of the anomaly, I personally think you're only as good as your next game. So for me, unless I see something in the next game, then I will definitely think it's an anomaly. I want to see us play with the same intensity. Of course, the 10 men definitely helps us. I'm not deluded in that sense, but I want to see the same intent. I want to see us come out, with the same hunger and desire to score goals against a fairly good Everton team who are starting to find their feet again. And that's all you can do. Like, at the end of the day, if you don't come and perform to a certain standard against Everton, then, for me personally, that game doesn't mean anything to me, because at the end of the day, you can win 15-0, it's only 3 points. It doesn't make a difference. We're not close to Man City. The only thing that game made it, well, the two things is confidence first and foremost, and secondly, the goal difference was so far behind Man City, and it massively helped us. So, yeah, it will be an anomaly unless we build on it, because Liverpool had a 7-0 win against Crystal Palace, and everyone was like, oh, they're back. And then literally the game after, that's when they went on that run with Newcastle, West Brom, Fulham, dropping points, then the loss to Southampton. And then, we could fall into that trap if we're not careful, because prior to that game, I believe we had 3 goals in 4 games, which is not acceptable. So, the boys have to kick on. Otherwise, I'm going to be sat thinking it's a one-off against 10 men.
Yeah. It was easy. I can honestly say I've never been less, I guess I would say, less thrilled with a 9-0.
I was sat there on the watching on, right?
It's like I knew it was going to keep piling on.
I didn't even celebrate for any of the goals, because I was just sat there like, okay, the first goal went in, I was relieved. I was saying to my cousin, he was like, yeah, because I normally clip up my goal reaction because I normally go mental and whatnot. But the first goal, I was just relieved that we've scored, because I was like, we need to get the first goal, because obviously it's going to become frustrating for us. The second goal, I was like, okay, Rashford, finally, you should have scored that anyways. And then it was just more like, well, we should be doing this anyways, because we have to go for the throw. I think the best thing about that performance, what I can take forward, is the fact that we didn't let up at 4-0. I think that was the one thing that I was really happy with. And someone said this to me on one of our podcasts after the game, that McTominay was shouting at Dan James when he scored because he didn't pick the ball up out of the net.
Yeah, they're saying let's get 10, weren't they? Let's get 10.
Yeah, I didn't know it was true, but I seen the clip and I was like, oh my God, I can't believe that. But that's the kind of mentality we need. We've got to be ruthless, and we got to see that more often. And if we're going to,
I think we saw that in the Southampton game when it was 2-2 with not long to go. Someone's getting the ball out the net, running back to halfway, saying, "Come on!" Like, obviously, people like Cavani, people like Fernandes are really kind of that's the sort of thing that you used to see in the past. Maybe not quite so much recently, where everybody's last 10-15 really going for it. And this game was already won, but we only had a few minutes of added on time. We should have definitely had more, because they messed about with VAR so long. We could have easily had 10 or 11.
Yeah, but I think that was down to all those players needed a goal. Like, I know Dan James scored. Obviously, Bruno got his goal right at the end of the game. They hadn't scored. I think it was more down to individual hunger, because like I said earlier, prior to that game, We are not scored. We've scored 3 goals in 4 games. Bruno's not scored in, what was it, 5 games. Greenwood not scored in 5. I know he did score. Martial not scored in 5. Rashford not scored 1 in 9. Cavani scored 1 in 5. So they're all desperately needed a goal. So I do think that does factor into it. But, you know, as you said, man, we need to just keep it going, really.
Yeah, I think that LC 9-0 is 3 points. I think maybe it's good for individual players, like I said, like Marshall. When Marshall wasn't a tap-in, it was nice to see him just smash it past the keeper.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to leave this comment up just for a few moments, just out of
You know my thoughts.
the sheer respect that I have for Brendan right now, for understanding. You know, now here's the thing, guys. I like to take the mick out of some players for the fun of it, but you know, I think especially McNee slides when Scotty McPassion, when he has played in a more advanced role where he can be more box to box, get in the box, and we know he has a shot on him. You know, he really does like to hit him from outside the box. You know, and you know when he gets in those roles, for me the big issue is that I don't see him as a CDM. And so when I hear people saying, "Oh, he's the Matic replacement in this type of situation," that's what kind of bugs me. But listen, I give credit where it's due. And so speaking of that, let's shift gears for a minute before we close up with this Everton game. I'll start with Kieran because I already know where he stands in a lot of respects because he's a spokesman. What do you guys think overall? What are your personal feelings concerning the manager? Because, you know, for me, just to put this out there, I know a lot of people think I'm all Ollie out and all this stuff. And there was a moment that I kind of was on that bandwagon. I've more been the Ollie indifferent type of person. I feel like he should get the entire season this year. I've felt that. And I felt like a few weeks ago, I guess the funny thing is how vile and toxic that like Twitter is. So all of the Ollie sexual people, they were like, where's all the Ollie outers now? Where are they at now? It's like I'm still here cheering for my team because I want the guy to do well. It's not that. So I felt like saying when Pogba was saving Ollie's job and saving him over the last few weeks, putting in bangers, the same people that love to call Pogba a virus and get him out of my club and he's only trying to perform for a contract are the same ones shouting when he scores. So if you get to shout when he scores, I get the clap when Ollie has a good game of management. So calm down with the toxicity. Let's just root for our team to win because that's what we all want. Wanting the manager in, wanting him out, supporting this player or not doesn't make you a better fan than someone else. Calm down with your hypocritical nonsense when it comes to that. I can't stand it. Oh, if you know what, because we don't live in Manchester, we can't love the club. Let me tell you this. If it wasn't for people that support Manchester United outside of Manchester, you wouldn't be signing $80 million Harry Maguire. I can promise you that. And so here's the thing, guys. For me, I want to see the manager do great. I know the things that I see him do well and the things I just don't like. And so I'm just really hoping that some of the things I don't like would really shift, especially with getting some staff around him. So I'm just kind of wondering where you guys stand, you know, with the manager. Kieran, now it's time for you to just start blowing kisses.
well, listen. For me, first and foremost, I think, Sean, you hit the nail on the head with the social media thing. You know, the amount of times after games, you know, even win or lose, you know, that toxicity is always there. It's always kind of almost like, you know, just attrition on both sides. It's like you can't just all celebrate together. You have to call out the other side for hating on someone or whatever. It's just, it's a bit annoying, but I guess, you know, when you've got loads and loads of fans, inevitably there'll be some people like that out there. But on a brighter note, I think for me, the way I stand with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is that, you know, there's definite progress you can see from what we're doing this season, in my opinion, anyway. I feel like, you know, results don't lie. And I know that there is the argument of the fact that people level that we're Moments FC and that in games we don't actually play well, but we kind of, you know, have a piece of individual brilliance to save Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and you know, save his job almost. And I agree, there has been times 100% where that's happened. But at the same time, I feel like you have to create those moments. And you're not going to create those moments by, you know, playing bad football. You look at Jose Mourinho as a perfect example yesterday. You know, I think they had one shot on target in that whole game. Even that, I'm not 100% sure, but I think they didn't attack pretty well, and you notice how they barely created any of those moments. Now you could argue maybe if the luck was on their side, they could have scored, but I think that's the difference that we're seeing from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer from previous managers, is that we are getting forward in more, we are creating moments. I do think it's fair to criticise Solskjaer, even though I do feel like he's the right guy for the job. I do feel there's definite valid criticisms. For example, as Rich, you pointed out, the substitutions. It infuriates me sometimes, as you said, when we're in games and you can see that something's not right, and he still waits to make the substitution. And that's something which does, get to me, and obviously he's going to have to learn about that on the job, really. I mean, ideally, you think with the amount of times that's happened, he would have learned already. But that is one thing that you can definitely criticise him for. Some things as well, you look at our form against the top six. We haven't won a game against the top six this season. I think we've had like 4 or 5 0-0s. And I think that's indicative of the way we kind of set up against those top six sides. So, in some ways, there's definite criticism of Solskjaer, but for me, I feel like where we are in the league, the players he's brought in, and I think this is the best United team, I think, from my opinion, I've seen in terms of personnel since Sir Alex Ferguson retired. I'm not sure if you guys agree with that, but I would say in terms of personnel, this is the best team, and I feel like recently this is probably the best I've seen a team play. Obviously, it's pretty well the highest we've seen the team play. And obviously, again, you could level the criticism, well, it's a weird season. There's no fans in the stadium. You could argue that's why we're having that, really good away run and why we're not doing so well at home. But for me, I look at it on the side of, giving Ollie, credit where credit's due. But I do 100% see the criticisms that people have where, for example, the substitutions or the style of play we see against the top six being a little bit negative. I do see that. But for me, I feel like, the good signs outweigh the bad signs with me for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. So I think he's the right man, and hopefully he continues to prove that.
Ah. So where are you at on the manager right now, Usman?
Right, first and foremost, the Jose Mourinho comparison, right? You can't make that comparison. The reason being, Jose's got 2 match winners. There's Son and Kane. We've got about 6. We've got Pogba, we've got Rashford, Martial when he finally finds his shooting boots. We've got Bruno Fernandes, we've got Greenwood, and we've got Cavani. That's 6 match winners. They've got 2. They've got Kane and Son. So, regarding the Moments FC, I think we are Moments FC. I don't see us playing consistent. This is what I used to criticize was, don't get me wrong, he's better than the other managers. I agree with that point.
Absolutely.
He's better than the other managers post-Fergie, so yeah, I definitely agree with that. But this is what I used to criticize under Jose Mourinho. We play well for like 10, 15 minutes. We'll score 2-3 goals, and people will call us 4-0 FC at the start of his tenure. And people will just be blinded by the fact that we had a 15-minute spell of sheer brilliance. I do think with Ollie, it's more sustained periods, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's 15 minutes, of course. I do agree with you. We do offer more going forward under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer over Jose, of course we do. But I do think we are too heavily reliant on match winners. I do think that, Pogba has been carrying us of late. Yes, this 9-0 I'm going to treat as an anomaly for now. Prior to the 9-0, can you name me any team goals we've scored? Like, the last one I would remember, I'm taking the Leeds game out, and people can say, oh, you're picking and choosing which game. The reason I'm taking it out is because Leeds can't defend to save their lives, so I'm going to ignore that game. The last goal that I can think of, at the top of my head, I might be wrong, but it's the Brighton counter-attack when Bruno Fernandes scores, or any other counter-attack we've scored. Our counter-attacking ability is one of the best in the league. I'm not denying that. But in terms of breaking a team down, how many team goals did we score? Like, not many. Like, a lot of our goals are like a couple of exchanges, maybe 1-2 passes, and someone shoots or someone gets in, or there's not many team build-up goals, and obviously we score a few, don't get me wrong, but in the whole, a lot of it is down to individual brilliance. People are going to say you're being too harsh on the manager, but
that's the way I see it, bro.
Yeah, no, don't get me wrong. Obviously, Ollie,
and we're predictable too.
Other managers, he set us up in a better manner. There's more improvement. We're more progressive in the manner in which we pass the ball through the lines, or at least have the intent to do so. So, and which is fine. But overall, Ollie's done a good job. He's done really well in building the squad. He deserves a lot of credit, which he's not getting from the media, which is very frustrating. I think people are completely disregarding how poor the squad was, which he inherited. A lot of toxicity in the squad. Forget the fan base. You had Lukaku and Sanchez, Ashley Young, Valencia was still there, Fellaini was still there. Like, the amount of people that is actually Darmian, like so many players he's got rid of that people forget about because they were that poor on the previous manager. So in that sense, he's done a fantastic job. In terms of is he the right manager, I think the only way we'll know that is if come the end of the season we get his players and then we kick on next season. For me personally, and I've been consistent with this, I want Nagelsmann because I think he's one of the best coaches in the world. I don't think as a man manager, Oli has been practically perfect almost, I'd say. With Martial, with Rashford, obviously the Pogba situation, he's been absolutely phenomenal. I don't think anyone can deny that. But in terms of a coach, we don't have a top-level coach. I personally think, and again, I'll ask you, Kieran, we've got Pogba, we've got Bruno, right? I'm not going to listen to anybody. If you top 2 out of the best 3 midfielders in the league, the other one would be Kevin De Bruyne, and the fourth would be Thiago Alcantara. In my personal opinion, in that order, give or take. So you got Pogba and Bruno, right? Yes, granted, we need a CDM, don't get me wrong. So we've got 2 of the best midfielders. Cavani's been absolutely brilliant. He's always been an elite player in terms of his movement. So I think everyone knows about Cavani. He's done it everywhere. Rashford, raw talent, undeniable. Greenwood, unbelievably talented as well. Martial, okay, he's had a shocking season, don't get me wrong. But still, he's got talent. We've got a lot of talented players. A lot of that is down to Oli, don't get me wrong. Oli deserves that credit. He has brought these guys to the forefront, and he has given Martial in particular the confidence to be a better player, although we're not seeing it this season. So I'm not taking away from what Oli's done, but I think he has basically laid the building blocks for a better manager to come and win as a league, basically. I don't think Oli will win as a league, which for me is the end goal. Although I think he can get as close. First and foremost, I hope I'm wrong, but of course I want him to. He's a legend. I want him to win it. I think he'll get as close, but in terms of if the way I always look at it is, and Kieran, I like obviously you're leading Oli in. If Klopp is our manager with these players, is he going to do more than what Oli's doing? And I'm pretty sure you're going to say because Klopp's obviously a better coach. But obviously, I know it's not a fair comparison because of course Klopp is a better coach, but that's the point. I feel like there's better out there. Obviously, people are going to say Nagelsmann a young manager. What makes you think he can handle the pressure? And you might be right. But in terms of his coaching ideologies, there's not many better in the world. But I genuinely believe that. I might be completely wrong. He got slapped 5-0 by us at Old Trafford. So what do I know? Do you know what I mean? So, but I just think if we get a proper coach with the players that we got, and we get a CGM, I genuinely think we can win the league. Like, I think we're that close.
Yeah. I think for me, when I look at it when it comes to Ole, I really felt he was building something for the next guy. Listen, if I had my way, everyone knows what I'm going to say. I would have him for the next season, continue what he's doing.
Oli has done our Potts job, basically, in terms of the rebuild. Jose was meant to be that guy to take him to the next level. Obviously, that's not happened for them.
Yeah. I just felt like, I found it interesting that Potts only sounded like an 18-month contract. I just felt like he was the perfect guy for everything he's shown that he could become like next. And that's what I want. I don't necessarily want the manager to come in and just won everything. I want that guy that kind of we know he's going to, and he kind of becomes our guy. And I hope that's Oli. I mean, I think we all want him to do well, and we have to give credit where credit is due, but we also have to call out the things that are obviously lacking in his ability especially as a coach, in-game manager. And I think at the end of the day, if he has the right people around him, he's shown man management wise. The thing that does concern me is I do not think that I feel like, and I don't have time to get into the why, but I feel like in some respects, Ole can be a perfect Glazer puppet because the Glazers can really not do anything to this club and really let us go. And no one really wants to go in on Ole because we all love him. Even when we don't like what he's doing, there's a certain level.
But Sean, can I sorry to interrupt you, but would you not say that Poch would be even more of a puppet given the fact that what's happened at Spurs? And at least Oli, okay, granted he's not got the sort of high-profile manager, but he's a club legend. So in that sense, that gives him something against the board where Poch basically has nothing over the board, really, in terms of authority. You've seen Daniel Levy taking him for an absolute mug. not signed anyone in 18 months was it?
Yeah.
They never signed. So if anything, he'd probably be even better for Glazers, really. At least
Yeah.
Ollie's a legend. He's got something.
Yeah, I think the thing is though, when it comes to play a little devil, I'm gonna do this as much. I'm gonna channel my inner Usman right here to play devil's advocate, right? When I think about this, I think that Poch has shown what he could do without the backing, and we do spend money, right? We do. I think the thing about Poch, and I'll admit this now that he's off the table. The thing that was one of my concerns, which I would not have voiced openly when he was a free agent, because I was coach crushing on him. I feel like he needs a great director of football as well, so he can really focus on the football. And Poch, I believe, was wanting a lot more control than I think that he probably has shown the right to have, because every time he's really been building something, he's done it hand in hand with a Paul Mitchell or with someone else. So down to Rich, I saw a question earlier for you. Before we switch gears and go to Everton, I want you to answer this because the seats want to know.
I would say to answer this question that each year there's been a lot of underwhelming transfer windows, but we seem to have actually improved. So the last transfer window, people wanted Sancho or central defender or central defensive midfielder. Instead of that, we got Cavani, which no one expected, and we got Van der Beek, who doesn't really play. And based on that marginal improvements, and Telles also doesn't really get in the team because Luke Shaw's improved. And the goalkeeper we brought back, Henderson, he doesn't play that much either. So we've basically almost got the same team as last year with Cavani. And the improvement in terms of quality of play, I think there's a lot, like Kieran said. We sometimes draw games or lose games, but we've created a lot of chances and not taken them. Well, I'm watching Van Gaal sideways passing Mourinho, where we have 3 or 4 chances and lose a game 1-0, and you think, what have we created? There's hardly anything there at all. Well, in Europa League, we could have easily scored about 4 or 5 goals in the semi-final in the first 10 minutes of the second half. Where you criticise the manager, didn't make substitutions when the game started changing against us. But I think that to answer the question of can Solskjaer take us to the next level and win something, if he's backed in a way that we're expecting in terms of the team improving, you get maybe someone like Ndidi, I know you love Sean, or a central defender, but I think the one we wanted is probably going to Bayern Munich, or whether we get someone that actually wants to play on the right wing, so that Wan-Bissaka can play behind the same person for more than 1 or 2 games at a time, and not Rashford out of position. If we can dress the balance in our squad, then do you think Poch does a better job than Solskjaer? I'm not sure he does in terms of where our team's at. We're not going to be throwing the money that Chelsea did. Chelsea and Manchester United.
Don't speak blasphemy, Rich. Don't speak blasphemy.
Chelsea and Manchester United were almost equal last year. There's like a couple of points in it, and they threw a crazy amount of money at some very high-profile attacking players, and they went backwards under Lampard. It wasn't even close. Lampard, I thought they should give him more time, but they were getting worse by the day, and I can see why they sacked him. Whereas Solskjaer, you've got to say, every 6 months he's been in charge, we look better. We're now talking about closing the gap from 30-plus points to, at the moment, we're above Liverpool. We're 5-6 points behind City. So you can see a big improvement. So I'd say, is there any reason that makes you think he definitely can't? Because if you're continually improving and the gap's closing from 30 to 10.
Shall I tell you why? Shall I tell you why I really don't believe in him? It's because he's not brave. Because, like, for me personally, right, like, you see, like, a lot of people say, oh, you're saying this in hindsight, but you look at the Chelsea game when we drew to them 0-0, right? You look at the Man City game when we drew to them 0-0 in the league, and you look at the Arsenal game we drew to them 0-0.
I would say with Man City, did not make you think that Man City didn't go as attacking as they normally do, because they were showing us more respect.
I'll tell you the point, Richard, and then obviously you can have your rebuttal, but them 3 games, and you could throw the Liverpool game if you really want to, where we drew to them 0-0 as well. There's one thing in common. Every single one of those teams that we played in that moment in time were there for the taking. I don't think any fan can deny it. So when we played Chelsea, they were poor. When we played Arsenal, in fact, they beat us actually. Sorry, apologies. I wasn't even in. No, they beat us. Then we got the Man City game. Man City were going through a dire strait at that moment. And Liverpool, when we just drawn 0-0 to them, going through the worst form in God knows how many years. The issue is we didn't sense blood in any of them games. He didn't want to take a risk. He was happy to settle for a 0-0. If he sensed blood that Fergie would have, we probably would have won at least 2 of the 3 of those 4 games. Obviously, we lost to Arsenal, so I can't claim that one. But We would have won 2 of the 4. We should have beaten that Chelsea team. They were
I
absolutely
think we should have beaten
diabolical.
Chelsea. I think
We should
Chelsea
have
were there
beaten
for
that Man City
taking.
team. That Man City team was shocking. And the problem with Ollie is, and it's time and time again, he's not brave. He's not brave in game management, right? At 0-0 at half time, you can say, no, what, fair enough. Against Liverpool in particular, I thought they're going to offer way more in that game. They offered absolutely nothing. He should have thought, no, what, let me just, I'm not saying roll the dice and go completely aggressive, but at least have intent to win the game. We looked like we were happy with the 0-0. Like, we had chances, don't get me wrong, but that's what wins you titles.
I think we've set up. I agree with Usman.
He doesn't gamble. He never. How many games, right? Does he gamble? You can criticize Jose all you want, yeah. And I don't like Jose, so please take this with a pinch of salt. But one thing you can't take away from him, right? Maybe not at the moment, but when he was at Man United, he'd take Ashley Young off every single time, and he'd chuck on an extra attacker if we needed a goal to win the game. He used to do it all the time. And again, I'm not saying Jose is the guy. I'm not a fan of Jose. Please don't get twisted. But what I'm saying is, as a manager, you earn your money by taking risks, and Ollie does not take enough risks. That's why he plays McFred, because he's scared of what happened against Spurs. And again, I understand that we haven't got a CDM. I get that. But if you want to turn these 1 points into 3 points, when is he going to roll the dice? Because you got to win. You got to beat the Liverpool when they're down and out. They hadn't won in. Where they're going to get a better chance to beat Liverpool, like, generally. I know.
I think I agree with you on some of the games.
But then we go from a couple of days later and we beat them 3-2 comfortably. I don't think anyone can say we didn't deserve to win that game. Okay, granted, they had chances, but we were the better team. We should have done that in the league. At 0-0 at half time, you should have thought, this Liverpool team was shit. Let's go for them. Let's get the 3 points. Let's shut them up. Simple as that. He didn't, because he's not brave enough as a manager and because he's too scared to lose. That is the problem. That is why against the big teams we've not got many points.
One of the things I've noticed, and I hate to even say this, for me, just watching, I feel like Ollie, for me, is streaks ahead of someone like Lampard. So I feel like we could have went differently and beat Chelsea. I feel like Arteta, as much as I think Arteta, to be fair, in game is a better coach than Ollie is, and he's done him over a few times. I think the difference is Ollie is a better man manager. Ollie has much better players. Let's be honest, guys. Our squad is better than Arsenal. Period.
They didn't have their main team. They had
we should slap them.
No Saka, no Tyrion. That's the whole of their left side. And we played for a 0-0 against Arsenal. They hit the ball once. Yes, Cavani should have scored and whoever else missed the chances. But, Rich, surely you can't tell me that Arsenal team went there for taking.
I think in that game, I think having Maguire and Lindelof, and I don't think we set it right in that game. I think the game I'll disagree with is the Man City game.
You're too scared to lose.
When we played Man City, I think a draw suited teams, and I've seen Fergie do that as well. And it's difficult to say. I think definitely with
Rich, I think you missed the point. The point being is, obviously, I'd love to hear what Kieran said is before the Man City game, right? Before
coming through.
Before the Liverpool game, if someone offered me a draw, I would take the draw. I'm not denying that. However, when you're at half time and it's 0-0, if anyone with eyes can see that this game is there for the taking. At half time, I don't know. I'd love to see what Kieran thinks, but I'm not saying before the game. The way he set up in the first half, I'm not criticizing it because I'm saying this on hindsight. At half time, as a manager, if you've got a pair, you say, well, we can beat this Liverpool team. They're nothing special, and they've offered nothing that first half that suggests that they're going to hurt us if we're a bit more expansive, which we were in the cup, and we beat them. The Man City team, again, the same thing. 0-0 first half, they offered nothing. They had all of the ball. They couldn't break us down to save their lives. And if anything, we looked like the better team every time we went forward. We should have went a bit more aggressive. Against Arsenal, 0-0, they offered nothing. They hit the ball once with Lacazette. Whatever their fans say, we should have won that game comfortably as well.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about before the game, because with most, apart from the last one, Liverpool, Man City, if someone says to me, would you take a draw? Of course I would. But when you actually watch the game, in-game management, you think, wait a minute, we can win this game, and we should be able to win this game if we're brave and we commit more bodies forward. But he didn't want to lose, Sean. Rich. That's the issue.
Yeah, no, I see, Richard. I think I agree that if in the game he hasn't been brave, and maybe sometimes when he sets up the team, he then can't change it. That's the criticism I would have.
But that's the thing.
Yeah.
If you want to be a top manager, You have to be able to willing to say, okay, this didn't work. Okay, fair enough. And again, I'm never going to criticize him at half time. I'll be a bit critical, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, because going into them games, you can look at a certain team and think you would expect something from them, and they've not delivered what you would expect.
That's probably the one thing
But
I would
then
say
he
in
doesn't
terms of
change it. He doesn't
Yeah,
change
that's-
it.
But if he starts being brave, will you change it? I guess you're going to change your mind if he does change that, because I've said the same thing, that when you can see things in the match need to change, he doesn't change, or you say, right, we need to bring attacking players on, but they come on 85 minutes.
Yeah.
What about against RB Leipzig? We needed 3 goals again. He gave up. As a manager, you never give, especially as someone like him who scored in the last kick of the game. God knows how many times in his career. Against RB Leipzig, he subbed on Fosu Mensah, right? And another, I can't remember the defender. It might have been Twanzavy.
Did he sub on Pogba?
Yeah, exactly. He gave up. And again, I'm not. Look, this is nitpicking here. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like, you just go for it. Like, I don't know, man.
Real quick, hold up, Kieran.
Before
we go, because we gotta. I know Usman's about to jump off, so I want to switch gears for a second, because I know Kieran's about to come in and blow everyone out the water with his Ollie love. And listen, you know, the fact is, we'll talk more about the manager in just a moment. Before Usman has to go, I want to ask you a question.
No worries.
So, Usman, tomorrow, is he going to be brave, and what needs to happen, and what's the score going to be?
Right, okay. Look, for me personally, I love the fact that we were getting a lot of people in the box. As you know, there was even one incident that I had to rub my eyes, because Fred was trying to win a head in the box. I've never seen him in the box in my life. Like, I don't even know if he's allowed in there, but like just little things like that. In terms of Bruno joining the attack, you know, people, you can say what you want about Cavani's goal, but his goal has come about because there's an overload in the box. It makes it difficult for the defenders to pick up their man, and Cavani's free, because if he's let's just hypothetically speak and say Cavani's the only person in the box, and maybe Greenwood, it's obviously the defenders are more likely to pick him up. But then you got Bruno was in there, McTominay was in there, and 2 extra body causes chaos. So what I want to see is, playing with the same intent. I want to see us continue to play on the front foot. I know obviously we're playing against 11 men now, but we need to be brave in terms of like committing more people forward. McTominay, you guys mentioned him earlier. He's a box to box. He's never been a CDM in his life. He'll never be a CDM. He's not Michael Carrick, although we want him to be Michael Carrick as much as Michael Carrick can teach him. If you don't have that IQ and that reading of the game, it's very difficult.
I don't think we want him as a CDM, because he's never in the right place. He just won't be there.
Exactly. He hasn't got that reading of the game. Michael Carrick had that to a T, hence why he wasn't necessarily needing to run as much. But yeah, coming back to that, get people in box, be brave. Luke Shaw or Wan-Bissaka do a brilliant, so hopefully they keep up with that in terms of offense stuff going forward. So I'm going to say 3-1 United. It's a bit bold, but you know what? Forget Everton. 3-1. Keep Dominic Calvert-Lewin quiet again. Hopefully they can do the job, and hopefully Bailly starts to spark. But yeah, it's worse.
Guys, real quick, Usman, shout out your socials before you have to go, my friend. It was great to have you on my first ever live stream.
Yeah, absolute pleasure, man. Listen, I just want to say a massive thank you to obviously Sean first and foremost, man. He's the homie, literally, obviously, as I well, Kieran's the first time I met you, to be fair, but obviously, absolute pleasure. We'll pretend we're homies as well for the outro, innit? But yeah, Kieran's the homie as well. Make sure you show love to him and Rich as well. But yeah, check me out, Usman Talks United. Obviously, the guys are normally on anyway, so it's a bit of love for everyone. I do a new series on there where we talk about men's mental health, racism in football, obviously important matters every Thursday, so by all means check that out. But yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe to Sean, the Yank you love to love. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one, hopefully if he invites me back. So yeah.
Yeah, man, blessings. You're always welcome. You know this.
Absolute pleasure, boys, man. Catch you in a bit.
All right, man.
Serious, man. Cheers.
So, Kieran, now's the time for you to show that Ollie love.
Is it 2-1 now?
What's going to happen? What's going to happen tomorrow? How do you feel this is going to go, Kieran? Matter of fact, what do we really have to worry about with Everton right now, except the fact that they do have a world-class manager?
I think you have to worry that Everton actually turn up.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, 100%. Listen, I think Carlo Ancelotti. I watched his pre-match press conference, and he's looking into his eyes. Those are the eyes of a hungry manager who wants revenge. Obviously, we've beaten them 2 times this season already at Goodison Park. But I think the main thing we have to worry about is the fact that they have got quality that can hurt us. This isn't like a Southampton team who've got, maybe one or two dangerous players. I could list off, Richarlison, Calvert-Lewin, James Rodriguez, and then you've got their midfielder, Decore, Alan. These guys, they've got a very, very good squad. Defensively, they look solid. Yerry Mina put in a really good performance against Leeds United. So I think it's going to be a very, very difficult game. I'm not expecting a walkover at all. I think, a win would be a big win for us, and a big kind of, you could argue a big statement. Obviously, it's not a top 6 side, but again, Everton are a decent team, and obviously our home record as well this season hasn't been that great. So to get a home victory against them, would be a big confidence booster, and obviously following on from that 9-0 Southampton win. So I think in terms of Everton, what we need to watch out for is definitely the aerial threat. Crosses into the box, we know how good we are at defending those. So that's going to be the main threat for me: set pieces and crosses. So if we can keep our defensive mistakes to a minimum, and have a good defensive performance like we have recently, to be fair, with Lindelof and Maguire, then I'm sure we'll be all right. But I think the set pieces are the main thing. And then also that on the counter attack, they can really hurt us as well. So we've got to watch out for that. But they have got some quality personnel that it can really hurt us. So it's going to be a hard slog.
Yeah, I agree. I'll tell you what. I want to go back way back in the comments earlier. There was a comment that came up concerning Kieran not being alive long enough to know Sir Alex. Look at that wonderful ginge facial hair and beard that he's growing out. That is all man, Brendan. No, that
Exactly.
is all man. That is all man. So Kieran, real quick
Now
before
we
we
just
go,
started watching now. It's going to be weird.
before we go to Rich, Brendan, do you have us winning tomorrow? And if so, what is your score?
I do see us winning tomorrow. I very rarely predict us not to win, but I do feel like we're going to win tomorrow. I don't think it's going to be high scoring. I think both teams will be looking to keep it tight. But I'm going to go with a 2-1 win to United. I think Everton will score. I just feel like they've got too much going forward to not breach our defence. However, if we have a decent defensive display with no errors, then I'm not saying we can't keep a clean sheet. I just feel like the way Everton are playing right now, I think with the options they've got available, I think they'll probably at least with a set piece, we're very, very vulnerable. I feel like they will breach us at least once. But if we're clinical enough, like we were against Southampton, then I think we'll be absolutely fine. And I say that for every game we play. If we're clinical enough, we can beat anyone. It's just about finishing our chances. So I think we will. I think it'll be a tight game. I don't think it's going to be a comfortable watch for United fans, but ultimately I think we'll get the job done. I think it'll be 2-1.
2-1. Rich, Jamie is throwing up his 11 here. Do you agree with that? What do you think we need to do tomorrow?
Earlier. He's gone with the standard 11, I think. I heard that Cavani's fit. I think he was a bit of a doubt at one point. 8-0, maybe 8-0. I think actually, I was joking about Everton turning up because I think when we played them earlier in the season, I was expecting a lot harder game, and though they took the lead, I think it was quite comfortable in the end, which is a bit surprising. I don't think Everton really troubled us too much. But, I think that's a go-to 11 that Jamie. But I think there's obviously it's a pretty good 11. I think, like I said, Everton are dangerous. I'd expect them to give us a tough game, but last time we played them, I'm not really counting the cup game because I think both teams. I don't think Everton really played well at all in that game. So, but it's one of those games that I think Brendan was saying. It's one of these teams that if we can beat Everton twice, it shows good intent in the league.
Do they have any major injuries that you guys can think of?
I think Pickford might be out, but I'm not sure about you.
That's not good for us.
I think if that helps Everton. Because I would say, people were saying last night when I did a preview that just take shots at Pickford because he's not going to stop that many.
He is not good, man. How is this guy England's number one? I have no idea.
But apart from that, I think they've got a good team. It depends on, we'll definitely create chances the way we're playing. And if we take them, I was going to be more optimistic and say 3-1. But I don't know. I think it all depends on how Everton play because they lost to Newcastle at home, didn't they? 2-0. And Newcastle have been absolutely dire recently. I think they had about 5 defeats in a row. They were playing terrible football, creating nothing, but they beat Everton fairly. No, I don't know what happened in that game. And then Everton have had good results either side of that, so it's a bit of a strange one. I think if we play well, like Kieran said, not too many defensive errors. I think Everton didn't have to do that much to score in the first game. It was just a long ball. We didn't deal with after the header. You give them chances, they will score. Don't give them free kicks, because I was watching the Arsenal game and stupid free kicks on the edge of the box, and they very nearly scored. It was just a bit of luck it wasn't a goal, because that could have easily been another 1-0 defeat. You don't give them chances like that. So hopefully, I think Eric Bailly is not necessarily fit. I don't know about that. People are saying he might be injured, but I would like to see someone else with a bit more pace, because if we do go a bit more attacking and get hit on the break, it's a lot more reassuring when someone in defence can run.
Has Richarlison been back?
I think so. I think he might have been on the. Well, I mean, what I've seen is that Alan Alan is injured apparently, the midfielder. So apparently Alan and Fabian Delph are not going to play.
Okay.
That's all I know. But I think Richarlison might have played against Sheffield United, but yeah, I think he's available.
Yeah, I just can't. Richarlison, I got to be honest with you, he gets on my nerves, but he's a really good player. And man, he's a king of diving. I mean, and getting under your skin. He's one of those guys that you're just watching him play. I'm thinking if I was younger and playing, I'm fighting him at some point, probably after, but I'm definitely fighting him. But no, man, as long as we keep him under control, and we know that, James Rodriguez has a absolute peach of a left foot, and he can turn up in any moment and make something happen. Allen is a big miss if that's true, because he's a solid midfield player. So ultimately, I feel this way: when we play our best, and if our individuals come through and do what they need to do, then I see us winning. I'm going 2-0 only just because, it's my first ever stream, and I'm just going to do that. So,
a brave prediction, clean sheet.
Yeah, we're gonna go with that. Well, guys, listen, I don't want to keep you all too long this evening. I want to say thank you to all of you that's jumped in the chat, all of you that's watched. Thank you, Kieran and Rich, and of course Usman, for coming on to this first ever stream here on Worldwide Red Show. I do want to apologize quickly to all the folks that are still with me, because I did have some technical difficulties. I have no idea what button I hit to mess up my focus, but I don't want to be fooling with it while we're live. I promise you it will be fixed, probably by the live stream tomorrow. Anyway, guys, listen, real quick shout out where people can find you, so that all the folks can go follow you on your awesome channels.
Yeah, well, Red Devil Weekly is where I do my Man United content on YouTube, just as it's spelt there. And then obviously if you want to find me on Twitter, at Red Devil Weekly, simple as that, same spelling. But yeah, Sean, thanks for having me on. A pleasure to be a part of your first stream, and hopefully you have many, many more. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Rich?
Yeah, just Rich Sports YouTube, mostly Manchester United. You'll probably see these guys on a lot of podcasts. A lot of shorter, maybe match reviews, match previews that I sometimes do, and some basketball content. But yeah, Rich Sports for Twitter, I think it's Rich Sports 7. I had to give a number because someone had already nicked Rich Sports. Channel with, I thought we'd done this. What's that word for more frequently than daily, but not every? It's more frequently than weekly, but not every day. Yeah, Red Devil often, Red Devil frequently.
Yeah,
I'll think about that.
I've got it so messed up it won't focus now, even with the box. But anyway, guys, until next time, you guys know where to find us. Thanks for tuning in. This is Sean from Worldwide Red Show at WWRS_show. Thank you, guys. Until next time, we will catch you later. Listen, you guys know what it is. Manchester United till we die. We're going to smash them tomorrow. Come on, United.